If you've ever found yourself spiraling down a late night rabbit hole of what am I meant to do and why haven't I found it yet? And let's be honest, who hasn't? Then you're in the right place. I'm Theresa White, career clarity expert and 5-time certified career coach, and I'm here to help you navigate the question of how to find a career that truly lights you up. On Career Clarity Unlocked, we're all about those light bulb moments. I'm talking to people who are still trying to figure out what they're meant to do, coaching them live to reach that magical, yes, this is it moment. And we'll also hear from those who've already found their dream careers and figure out exactly how they did it. Whether you're looking for inspiration or actionable advice on finding a career you love, I've got you covered. Time to unlock some career clarity. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Career Clarity Unlocked. Let me start by asking you something that might hit close to home for many of you. Have you ever seen someone else doing a job that you once dreamed about? And for that split second, or maybe even longer, you felt that tug in your chest and that quiet whisper of like, what if I had done that? Maybe that's when you scroll past a therapist with a cozy office and a bookshelf full of psychology books. Or maybe it's when you see a lawyer passionately arguing a case. Or maybe you see someone teaching art to kids, or someone doing interior design, or leading a nonprofit. And you see that and makes that little ache rise up. And you probably don't always talk about it. And maybe you've never said it out loud, because oftentimes it does feel really tender. Like you should have gotten over that by now. Like, well, this isn't your life, so don't worry about that. But here's the truth. Almost everyone has what I like to call the career that got away. That one path we didn't take, a profession that has been on our mind, that maybe we dreamed about in college, in our 20s, or maybe even as kids, before life pushed us into a different direction. Bills, practicality, family, fear, so many million reasons, societal pressure that pushed us into the direction that we ended up in. But that career that got away lingers somewhere quietly in the background of our mind, not loud enough to show up every day, but just enough to make you wonder, what would my life look like if I had followed that other road? And if that is something that you feel too, you are not alone. I hear this all the time from clients, people I work with, and in all my coaching sessions. And not just from people who are really unhappy or hate their jobs. I hear it pretty much from everyone, even people who like what they do, but they still have that twinge of like something is missing here. And that's what I call the career that got away. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The reason why it still shows up and what you can do about it. Because what's so important to realize is that this ache or that whisper of what if isn't just regret, but it's actually a clue, a really important clue from your inner compass, pointing you to something deeper, something that still wants to be a part of your life. And by no means will you have to burn everything down and go back to square one and start over. No, we're not talking about starting over. We're talking about how can we realign forward. And that's so much more empowering. So today in this episode, we're going to go deep into the world of the career that got away, what it is, why it happens, and how to do something about it. And I'm going to walk you through the psychology of being haunted by this what if feeling, how we can decode the dream behind the job title we once dreamed about, and how to bring those long lost dreams into your current life. Even if you're not chasing a career, even if you're midlife, mid-career, mid-identity crisis. And along the way, I will be sharing real stories from my own life and from clients I've worked with, like the woman who dreamed of owning a beach shack and then became a therapist, or the one who thought she missed her shot at architecture, but found a way to bring creativity and design back into her sales career. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Theresa White, career clarity expert and 5-time certified career coach. And I am the coach behind over 600 women who found work that makes them say, wait, I'm getting paid to do this? My clients describe our sessions as epiphanies and answers to questions they've been asking for years. And I am the only coach who guarantees you career clarity in just 30 days. And as we're diving into today's episode, what I really want you to remember as we go through this, that your dream isn't gone, but it is waiting for you to listen. And today we're going to do this together. Most people, when I bring up the idea of the career that got away, they are thinking about it as in, I missed my shot, I chose wrong, or what if, I'll never go back, I can't do it over, I lost my chance. But the truth is that it isn't really about becoming a lawyer, an artist, a therapist, an astronaut. It's truly about what that dream symbolizes for you. It's about who you were when you wanted it and what it meant to feel like that version of yourself again. I'm going to start this off by sharing a story of my client. We're going to call her Natalie. She was in a corporate strategy role, high up the ladder, super smart, capable, respected, well-known in the industry. But in one of our sessions, she admitted something with a little laugh, like, this is just silly me saying this out loud. And she said, sometimes I still find myself looking at law school websites at night. It's like an itch I can't quite scratch. And she dismissed this right away. But I picked up on it and I responded with, a lot of people have a career that got away. And she sat with that for just a moment and said, OMG, yes, that's exactly what this is. And then we gently dug deeper. And guess what we found? It wasn't really about wanting to be in a courtroom. She wasn't dreaming of legal briefs or late nights with case law. What that career path represented to Natalie was advocacy, fairness and structure, helping people who couldn't speak up for themselves, using logic and language to make a real impact. That's what still lit her up. And that's what the itch was trying to point her towards. And once she saw that and realized that, everything shifted. She stopped romanticizing the fantasy of law school, and she started focusing on how she could express those values now. In her current career, she really started leaning into social impact projects. She started spearheading those types of projects inside her current organization. On the side, she got involved with a nonprofit advocating for veterans. And in her role, she also really leaned into mentoring underrepresented employees. She didn't change industries. She didn't even change companies, but she realigned her intentions. And that little ache quieted down because she wasn't ignoring it anymore. She was actually listening and answering it. This shows that the career that got away often is a metaphor for something meaningful, for something that's still alive in you. And it's not necessarily about going back and starting over and going back to school, but it is about looking beneath the surface and asking, what was it about that path that called to me in the first place? Because once you identify that real driver, what's behind it, then you can find new ways to express it. And that is the clarity that leads to real fulfillment. And it's so easy to get caught up in the fantasy version of this lost path. You might imagine it to be perfect most days, fulfilling, exciting, full of purpose. But in that fantasy, we might forget that every career has trade-offs. Lawyers burn out, artists struggle with rejection, therapists carry heavy emotional loads. So you're not mourning a perfect job, but you are missing a part of yourself that once felt authentic, courageous, and expressive and wants to come back into your life. And that is a really good thing because that part of you can still access no matter where you are now, no matter your level in your career, no matter your title, no matter your age. So I invite you to think of the career that got away for you. What was it? What did you dream about? What did it represent for you at that time? And then ask yourself, what did I imagine I'd feel like that in my career? What did I picture my day-to-day to look like? If you're pictured being a lawyer, what did you picture yourself doing every day? In Natalie's case, her response was, well, I picture my day advocating for people who didn't have a voice. Yes, that's it. Advocating for people who didn't have a voice. Where can you do this where you are right now? And then think about, when you think of this career, what qualities would that path would have brought out in you? And those are the questions that will take you from regret to revelation. At the end of the session, Natalie said something that I'll never forget. She said, I always thought I missed my chance, but now I realize I just didn't understand what I really wanted. And that's what this process does. It helps you decode the desire underneath the daydream and build a life that allows you to honor that. It's not about recreating that exact job that you once had dreamed about, but it's about reclaiming the feeling that was associated with it: purpose, alignment, identity, impact. And once you find that essence, you realize you don't have to start over. You just have to realign forward with clarity and courage and with the truth of what matters to you now. Now, let me share with you my career that got away. Because you probably know me as the career clarity coach, the one who helps you find your pinch me, I get paid to do this path. But if you rewind my life, my career that got away, and you'll probably never ever guess this, but it is statistics. It feels scary to even say that out loud because I've buried that so deep down. Growing up, I was really good at numbers. Math was always the easiest topic for me in school. Growing up, math was always my favorite subject in school. I was really good at it. My brain naturally saw patterns. And obviously, my parents always said, you need to study math. And they probably weren't wrong. I did have a thing for logic, data, and figuring things out, solving puzzles and problems. But when it came time to choose my major, I was in a phase of rebelling against my parents, and I zigged instead of zagged and studied philosophy because I just wanted to do what my parents did not want me to do. I know, one of the smartest decisions ever, right? But I loved it too, but it wasn't my path. Then that brought me to a master's in global leadership and sustainable development, and later on I landed in HR and recruiting. A very human-focused career, very not statistical, very not analytical. So there was many years where I thought like, oh my God, well, I should have done something more analytical. I should have gone back. I should have studied math. I should have listened to my parents. I should have had a major in statistics. I probably would have been great at insights and analytics, and I would be making way more money. And I was quite hard on myself and thought like I ignored my strengths. I just did something other than what I was supposed to do. Life happened and I became a career coach. And one day it clicked for me and everything started making sense. And that will happen as I was working with a client and I was spotting the patterns in their story. I was grabbing the puzzle pieces of what energizes them, what makes them come alive, what skills they have, what strengths they have, how they translate. And I was piecing all these pieces together and solving the puzzle of what are you meant to do next? And that's when a thought occurred to me that this is the exact same part of my brain that loved statistics. It's all about my love for solving problems and figuring things out. But now I get to do it in a way that I love even more than numbers. Human problems, human questions. And the reason I loved statistics wasn't the numbers. I couldn't even care about the numbers whatsoever, but it was the clarity that emerged from it, finding logic in the chaos, seeing something complex and making it make sense. And guess what? That is exactly what I do in career coaching. I take my clients' messy, emotional, confusing career journeys. Sometimes they're all over the place. They have skills here, experience there, strengths there. And I find that through line. I guide them in finding a career that, once, harnesses all the experience they have. 2, is in demand in the labor market. And 3, energizes them and makes them come alive. And it is a puzzle for me. How do we put all these puzzle pieces together so that we can find this? And what had always felt like the career that got away from me had actually prepared me for exactly what I was meant to do. I wasn't longing for statistics, but it was something inside me that kept reminding me that I love solving problems and that I need to do more of that. And now I do every day, through stories instead of spreadsheets, with people instead of data sets. And on top of that, I get to solve the most meaningful puzzle: purpose. And honestly, if I could do it all over, I would choose the same path now. I love what I do, and no career that got away would have brought me to a happier place than I am right now professionally. So sometimes the career that got away, it's actually a good thing that it got away, because it brought us to where we are now. And we still get to incorporate what that career that got away represented for us. As in my case, figuring things out, solving problems, meaningful, big questions. Now, let me share a different story from my client, Anna. She is an architect turned sales executive and then started working with me. She came to me after 15 years in software sales. She was successful, high-performing, and very restless. And she told me, I hate to admit it, but I still think about being an architect. That's what she studied in college. And that was a dream that she shelved right after college when she needed a stable paycheck. And she just never got back into it. So I asked her, as I do with many of my clients, what was it about architecture that drew you in? And she started telling me all about it, designing things that are beautiful and functional, solving complex problems with creative solutions, making something beautiful. And I said, wait, there are people at your company who do that, right? And that's when the light bulb went off. And she was like, yeah, I always look at the people on the product team and be like, this is so cool what they get to do. And my job is just to sell it. So in her case, she didn't quit her career. But once she reconnected with what drives her and what was it that really resonated with her about that dream of architecture, she realized that what she wants to do is create things. She wants to make things beautiful. She wants to solve complex problems with creative solutions. She wants to lead innovation projects. And that bridged her over to the product team. She started having informational interviews. She started upskilling. And within a year, she actually was able to move over to that team. And her work felt alive again. Not because she started over and went back to architecture, but because she found what it was about architecture and found a way to leverage that or make that a part of her current career. Now, I've got one more story for you, and that's been one of my favorite stories from clients I've ever worked with. And one of my clients who was about to leave the military within the next 6 months worked with me to find out what she wants to do after leaving the military. So I asked her, like, if you could do anything, knowing that you wouldn't fail, what would you do? And she said, oh my God, I would own a beach shack. I would rent out surfboats. I would sell beer. I'll sit under the palm trees, meet people from all over the world. And you could just see her lighting up as she talks about it. And I asked her, like, that's so cool. Tell me more about it. What do you picture yourself there doing all day? And she said, I'd be talking to people. I'd hear their stories. I'd be so curious. Where did they come from? Are they traveling? Are they locals? I would connect with them. I would have really deep and meaningful conversations. So just to confirm, I was like, so it's not the selling the beer or renting the surfboard. She's like, no, I mean that No, I don't care about that. I just want to talk to people, deep, meaningful conversations. So it wasn't about the surf shack. It was about deep human connection. Fast forward, leaving the military, she enrolled to study psychology and is now getting her master's in mental health and counseling. And that lost beach shack dream, it was actually a clue about what she really wanted. Building deep relationships, having meaningful one-on-one conversations, creating emotional connections. And now with her first internships right now, she's living it, but in a totally different form. So if these stories prove anything, it is that the career that got away isn't really about that job title that got away, but it is about the truth inside that dream. And once you identify that truth, you can express that in 100 different ways. You don't need to go back to law school, start over, or buy a beach shack. You just need to ask yourself, what was that dream pointing me towards? And how can I honor that energy in my life now? That's the magic. Reclaiming the dream without starting over. When we think about the psychology behind this ache and behind that little ping that you feel when you think about that one that got away, it often is a feeling of longing. And that feeling is data, emotional data. That's actually really important to pay attention to. It's an inner compass saying, hey there, remember me? The version of you who dreamed about doing this kind of thing. And behind that are a few powerful psychological layers. Because you're not just missing a career, you're actually missing a version of yourself that you had dreamed about. Maybe that was one where you were bold, curious, idealistic, free. And this career that got away reminds you of who you were and who you were dreaming of being before you started filtering your choices through practicality, social norms, security, or fear. And again, it's often not about the job title, but it is about the self-image that went into it. It's about remembering the part of you that you thought felt most like you. And there is still something alive about that old path. That's why it sits in the back of your mind. It's like emotional unfinished business. And that doesn't go away until it finds an outlet. So if you're feeling this low-level hum or that tug, it means it is there for a reason, and it shows up because something in you is ready to be expressed again. And the career you long for usually points to something that is missing in your current one. Maybe that's creativity, learning, purpose, growth, impact, passion, freedom, connection, whatever it is for you. When those values that are important to you go unmet, your brain remembers, like an emotional post-it note, hey there, don't forget about this part of you that still exists. And then most people are like, don't worry about it, that was just a different time, it's silly, it's too late now, I've built too much where I am, I put way too much in my current past to ever make a change, like crazy. But if you ignore that voice that's in the back of your mind, it will turn into quiet dissatisfaction. The Sunday night dread, the midweek, what am I even doing feeling? And the moment when you see someone doing work that would light you up and feel something tighten in you. May I even call this feeling envy? And that's your intuition tapping you on the shoulder. It's the part of you that still believes in possibility. And that feeling or that ache or that whisper, that's not the problem. But it does become a problem when you ignore it for too long. And one of my clients, Natalie, who I shared with you earlier about, who had dreamed of law, once said to me, every time I drive past a courthouse, I feel a sadness tugging at me because it's a part of me that I left behind. And once we reframed it, that ache became her fuel. And she started channeling that same energy into advocacy, into conflict resolution and leadership, into her volunteering endeavors. So that ache actually transformed into alignment. So instead of shutting that voice down with, oh, too late, it's silly, too impractical, too risky, crazy me, try to get curious instead. What is this ache trying to show you? What is it that feels missing right now that used to feel alive? And when you ask those questions, it shifts the energy from a regret going back into the past to what if moving towards the future. And that's the turning point. Because when you interpret it as regret, it's a pull backward. But when you interpret it as information, that's when it pulls you forward. And that is the pivotal point between feeling stuck and feeling inspired. And one of my favorite ways a client ever said that to me is she said, I stopped seeing my old dream as failure and started seeing it as breadcrumbs. And that's exactly it. That ache is a breadcrumb trail back to alignment. And I'd love for you to journal on this now or after you finish listening to this episode. What are the emotions that come up for you when you think about the career that got away? Is it regret, envy, longing, sadness, inspiration? And what might that emotion be trying to teach you about what you need more of right now? Emotions are data. And that ache is a really important data point. And when you understand the psychology behind it, that's when you can stop fearing it. You can stop ignoring it and labeling it as too late or too silly. And you can start using it as fuel to find what you're truly meant to do. So now let's talk about how do we move from this ache towards action. And I'm going to walk you through this in 7 steps. Step 1 is by starting to name it. Ask yourself, what's your career that got away? What path do you still sometimes quietly daydream about? What comes up when you imagine a totally fresh start? Or there would be no one judging you and failure was an option. What would you try to do? And then just see what comes up. Try not to filter it. Don't edit. Don't explain it away. Don't be like, oh, this is just silly. Just notice with openness what arises. Maybe something very obvious, maybe something unexpected you haven't thought about for a while. And now that becomes your starting point. Not for finding this new job and starting over and becoming a teacher, whatever it is that came up, but it's the starting point for understanding what's behind it. Which brings us to the second step, is deconstructing the dream. That's when you want to ask yourself, what about this career actually is calling to me, or was calling to me in the past? And think about that in 4 different categories. 1, the environment. What kind of vibe did that career have? Where would you be doing the work? Then the skills. What would you be doing all day? And that's the biggest one. Really, when you visualize this career, what do you see yourself doing? Then the impact. Who would you have helped in that role? Who would you be working with? And then the values. What are the principles this career stands for you? The client I told you about who dreamed about law school, what she really wanted was advocacy, a voice, fairness. And once she saw that, she was able to find new ways to bring that energy and those important values into her current career. So don't think about that dream as a destination, but as a direction. And then step 3 is rebuilding the dream in real time. And most likely, you won't need a whole new career to honor that dream. Start by asking yourself, where could I express those same values and skills today? Is it in your current role, through a side project, in a new opportunity. Another client I worked with, her name was Kendra. She always wanted to study psychology. But her parents told her, like, this doesn't make sense. You need to go into business, get your MBA. That's where the money is. And that's how she ended up in tech. And she assumed how she missed her window. She was not going to go back to school and study psychology. But she did realize that she was drawn to understanding people, helping them grow, solving emotional problems. And that fueled a transition for her to UX design. In addition to that, she now works for a mental health startup in UX design. So she was able to rebuild the dream using the tools she already had. And that's really the magic, that you're not going to start over, but you're building on the experience that you have. Step 4 is reframing the story, because language matters a lot here. The way you describe your missed path and the career that got away can either open a door or it can slam the door shut. So when the story is, I missed my shot, I made the wrong choice, it's too late now, door is shut. But we want to open the door. And the story can be, this dream gave me a clue about who I really am. Or I'm not erasing my past, but I'm expanding on thinking about what's possible. And this dream is allowed to evolve, and I get to evolve with it. One of my clients said to me, I feel like I didn't lose the dream, I grew into it differently. That's another really beautiful way of phrasing it. And now comes the most important step, step 5, designing that dream forward. So once you know what you're trying to reclaim, we need to find a way on how to do it. And that's why I want to think about your career in 2 different buckets. One, what you do, the role, the actual work you do, and then the where you do it, the company, the industry, the team that you're on. And for some people, the shift is going to be in the what, and for others, it's going to be in the where. So in the what, in the role, are you looking for a role with more creativity that revolves more around problem solving, mentorship, leadership? Or in the where, would you want to stay in the same role, but maybe work in a mission-driven organization, a startup, a nonprofit, or an adjacent field? To give you 2 examples. So let's talk this through on 2 examples. So think about a person who always dreamed about law school, but life happened and she ended up in HR. She is now leading an HR team. If she wants to change the what, her role, that could mean that within the HR field, she might move into employee relations and DEI work, where she really gets to start advocating for people through employee relations and DEI. Or the other way, she could change the where she works, the company. How about doing HR at a law firm? Leveraging the skills she has, but bringing it back into the legal field and now supporting lawyers through her HR knowledge. Or to give you a completely different example, think about a client who was always fascinated with psychology and mental health, but life happened and she ended up in marketing and tech. If she wants to change the what, she wants to change her role, maybe she can look for employee experience program manager roles where she gets to run employee wellness programs, allowing employees to improve their mental health. Or if she wants to change the where, the company she works for, she could stay in marketing, but do marketing for a role that's really aligned with her dream and mental health. Headspace, Spring Health, Calm, all these companies come to mind. So now I invite you to think about what's the one lever that you can shift. Is it the what, the role that you would want to do, or is it the where, the company you would want to work for, to get closer to the essence of the dream, to the reason of why you're still dreaming about it? And then please don't quit your job tomorrow. At least for most of you, I think that's safe advice. But start experimenting. Maybe you take a class, even if it's just a YouTube video that you start with. Volunteer, join a committee, lead a workshop, start a blog or a newsletter, or the most amazing thing, have conversations with people who do that type of work. Just ask someone for a one-on-one coffee chat who is in that field that you're aspiring to or that you're curious about, and learn from them. Ask questions. Let curiosity drive those conversations, and they're going to be incredibly valuable. So in that way, you're not making a big leap. You're not throwing everything up in the air. You're just asking questions. So now ask yourself, what is the lowest lift way that you can experiment today? Who could you talk to get just a little bit more information about what you're aspiring to do next? And then the last step is giving the lost career a place of honor. And this is the emotional part of it, but it's important. Because instead of ignoring the career you didn't choose, you want to honor it. Write it down and thank it for what it showed you. Reflect on the version of you that dreamed it. Ask what it taught you about who you are. And this small act is healing. It helps you integrate your story so that you don't look back with envy or loss or regret, but that you can then look at it with love and clarity and being grateful for that ache and the information that it gave you so that you can realign forward. In this process, I've truly seen changing lives. Victoria found her voice again. Kendra blended her passions into one role. Anna brought creativity back into her job. And the results are amazing. More energy, more confidence, a stronger sense of self, more happiness, more fulfillment. Not because they became different people or they threw up their whole life in a day, but because they reconnected with who they were before they let the world talk them out of it. As we're coming to an end of this episode, let's recap what I would love for you to take away. And I'd love for you to remember that the career that you didn't pursue, it's not too late. It's not a shut door that you can never walk through again. It's a roadmap, a signal, a breadcrumb trail, a clue from your intuition, not about what you missed out on, but about what still matters to you. And the beautiful thing is that you can reclaim that energy in a new, modern, totally you-aligned ways. It's possible. It really, really is. And the goal isn't to recreate the dream exactly as it was. You don't have to quit everything and start over and go to med school or start from scratch. The goal is to really extract the essence. What does this dream symbolize? What did it give you permission to feel? What did it allow you to believe about yourself? And then ask, where can I live out those same values today? How can I do some of the things I pictured myself doing in this dream? And then you can ask yourself, where can I live out those same values today? Where are opportunities to do some of the things that you pictured yourself doing in your dream? What are the opportunities? Where could you do this today? And I'm going to provide you with journaling prompts on your handout. You can find the link in the show notes. It's careerbloomcoaching.com/episode 71. And please, please, please download it. Don't skip this one, because journaling on this can actually truly change your life. It can unlock so much clarity. And I'll invite you to journal about what was that the career for you that got away? What did it symbolize? What did you picture yourself doing on a daily basis in the stream? And what did you imagine you'd feel like doing this work? And where could you express that same energy in your current life or career? Just journal on it, don't filter, because that's where the answers emerge. And if those journaling prompts unlock something in you, please share it with me. DM me either on Substack, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. All the links are in the show notes. I would love to hear what came up for you. And you might be surprised how many other people have that same feeling of the career that got away. If this episode hit home and you're ready to stop spinning in what if, let's talk. We'll uncover the deeper meaning behind the career that got away together and design a career path that finally feels like it fits. So whether you're ready to make a shift now, or you just want to explore the possibilities of what is possible for you, you definitely don't have to do this alone, because this is exactly what I do. I help you gain crystal clear career clarity in just 30 days. I'm 5-time certified. I've helped over 600 clients find clarity and land careers they love. And on top of all of that, I help you hear yourself again. So use the link in the show notes to book your free career clarity call. Let's jump on a call, just you and me, and let's decode your lost dream together and turn it into something real. Oh, just thinking about helping you through this process gets me so excited. So thank you so much for being here, truly. It is such an honor to be in your ears or on your screen during this episode and all the episodes. Thank you for giving yourself the space to ask, what do you want more of? And what if that dream still matters? Because that takes a lot of courage. And I see you with the big heart and the quiet ache. I see you who thought maybe that it was too late. It's not. And I see you who is just now remembering what you always knew. Because that lost dream still lives inside of you. And now you know and have the tools how to honor it. And of course, don't forget to join me again next week for another episode full of insights, inspiration, and actionable advice on finding a career you love. Please keep chasing what makes you come alive, and I will see you back here next week on Career Clarity Unlocked. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Career Clarity Unlocked. If you're feeling stuck in that what's next spiral and are ready to finally break free, let's chat. You can book your free career clarity call where we'll uncover what's really important to you, tackle any obstacles holding you back, and map out your best next step. Schedule your free 30-minute call today on careerbloomcoaching.com. And before you head out, be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you never miss an episode. If today's conversation gave you new insights and inspiration, please leave a review. It really helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. And don't forget to share this episode with a friend or on social media. Your support truly means the world. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.